Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunaptanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitams Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasa Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Shri Madhusudana Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Oma Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Trinadapi Sunichena Tarar Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kivalam, Kala Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. Jigyasitang Susampanam, Apite Mahad Adbhutam. Kratavan Bharatang Yastwang Sarvartha Pari Bringhitam. Shri Narada said, O Vyasadev, your inquiries were full, and your studies were also well fulfilled. And there is no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work known as the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained. Achintya khalu ye bhava natang starkena yojayet prakriti-bhya parang yachcha tad achintyasya lakshanam. Anything transcendental to material nature is called achintya, inconceivable, whereas arguments are all mundane. And since mundane arguments cannot touch transcendental subject matters, one should therefore not try to understand those things which are achintya through mundane arguments. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mahabharata, Part 1, Chapter 2, Pandu, Cursed and Blessed, Part 2. After the Brahmanas and attendants had left, Pandu made his way into the forest with his wives. They walked steadily north for many days, finally arriving at Saptashrota, the 100-peaked mountain. There the king constructed a wooden hut and began to engage in severe penance. Many rishis, siddhas, and charanas lived in that region, and Pandu soon endeared himself to them by his qualities of humility, self-control, and devotion to his elders and to God. They would frequently visit his hut to converse with him. And with his mind fixed only on salvation, Pandu lived quite simply at Saptasrota. He would eat only fruits and roots, drinking clear water from mountain springs. His two wives accepted the very same vows he had taken, and thus all three lived joyfully on that mountain, like celestials descended from the higher regions. Gradually over time, Pandu thought more about his situation. One day, he spoke to the rishis, revealing his fears. "O greatly learned ones, I have heard that a sonless man cannot attain heaven. By having sons, one pays his debts to his ancestors. And if I were to die without issue, my forefathers would surely perish, as the Shraddha offerings would cease. I am thus filled with apprehension, because I cannot beget children." Indeed, Pandu was anxious. Often he would perform the Shraddha ceremony for the welfare of his departed ancestors. The Vedas state that such food offerings made to the gods on their behalf ensure their continued happiness in heaven. Pandu was concerned. What would happen when he died? If he left no children, who would continue the offerings to his forefathers, and indeed to himself? Pandu folded his palms in supplication. Could the rishis beget children in his wives, just as Vyasadeva had begotten him and his brothers? Smiling, one of the rishis replied, "By our ascetic powers, we are able to see that you will undoubtedly have children like the gods themselves. Indeed, your progeny will fulfill the purpose of the celestials. All of this can be seen clearly by us. Therefore, you should certainly act in such a way as to somehow or other produce children." Pandu reflected on the rishis' words. It seemed the sages were amenable to his suggestion. He then went to Kunti and spoke with her in private. "O lady of sweet smiles, I desire offspring. But due to my vicious behavior, I have lost my power of procreation. Now, in such instances, the scriptures sanction that another worthy man may beget children on my behalf. So please, therefore, accept another man and conceive a child for me." Pandu pointed out that even he and his brothers had been conceived in this way, so Kunti should thus accept a qualified Brahmana who was superior to himself in order to have a child. But noble Kunti did not like Pandu's suggestion. She looked down and spoke softly in reply. "O virtuous one, please do not request this of me. I am your lawful wife, ever devoted to you. Certainly, I shall not accept another's embrace, even in my imagination. O king, embrace me to beget offspring. Thus I shall ascend to heaven along with you. Who is there superior to you?" Kunti recited to her husband an ancient history she had heard. There was once a powerful king who had died without issue. So his lamenting wife embraced his dead body, and by the arrangement of the gods, she conceived children. 3 qualified sons were thus born of her union with her dead husband. Kunti asked Pandu to emulate that king. "Oh, my dear wife, I do not possess such power, so I prefer that you conceive a child by uniting with a rishi. And I assure you that no sin will be attached to this act. It is your responsibility, as I am commanding you as your husband, and you should not hesitate to comply with my request. Pandu tried in many ways to convince Kunti. At last, Kunti, seeing her husband's determination, spoke. My dear husband, I shall now tell you of a boon which I received during my maidenhood, which may yet prove to be our deliverance. For when I was a girl in my father's house, he would engage me in serving guests. One day the powerful mystic Durvasa arrived, and by my service and constant attention to all of his needs, I greatly pleased that rishi. And as he was leaving, he called me aside and said, O gentle one, I shall now confer upon you a boon. Listen as I recite one mantra, and this mantra, when uttered by you, will summon any of the celestials you desire. Whether agreeable or not, they will then be obliged to do your bidding. Kunti already had experience of the mantra's power. As soon as she had uttered it once and thought of Suryadeva, that blazing deity had appeared before her. Surya had then conceived a son in her. Kunti therefore knew that she could summon other gods to produce further children. She had not wanted to reveal this secret, being reluctant to unite even with the gods in place of her own husband. But this was an emergency. So it seemed that the time to make good use of Durvasa's mantra had now come. Pandu knew nothing about this boon, and so he was overjoyed upon hearing Kunti's words. Surely this was the Lord's arrangement. Sons from the gods would be far superior to any son born of an earthly man. Kunti then asked Pandu which of the deities she should call. Pandu thought for some moments and then spoke. Oh, beautiful lady, you should call the great Dharma, the god of justice. He will never be able to pollute us with sin, and his son will undoubtedly be qualified in every respect. Kunti assented to Pandu's request. She sat in meditation and thought of Dharma, reciting the mantra Durvasa had given her. Within moments, the deity appeared, riding on a resplendent chariot. Shining like the sun, he smiled and said to Kunti, Tell me, what should I do for you at this time? Awed by the god's splendor, Kunti replied in a trembling voice, Oh, I desire a child by your illustrious self. And so, at once, Dharma united with Kunti and then disappeared. She conceived and in due course of time gave birth. During the 8th month of the year at noon, on the full moon day, when the auspicious star Jeshta was in the ascendant, Kunti brought forth a lustrous son, and as soon as he was born, a celestial voice was heard in the sky. This child will be the best and most virtuous of all men. He will be devoted to truth. He will be highly powerful and famous throughout the three worlds. He will be known as Yudhishthir, and he will rule the earth. Pandu was overjoyed. The gods had not forsaken him after all. Here was a child worthy of his great dynasty. He no longer had to be anxious. But then, Pandu began to consider his situation. He saw that by Durvasa's boon, Kunti could obtain more powerful sons, born of the gods themselves, who would ensure the Kuru's welfare and become great leaders in the world. Pandu again approached Kunti 1 year after the birth of Yudhishthir. My dear wife, the wise have declared that a ruler should possess strength as well as righteousness. Therefore, please invoke the wind god Vayu, who is the strongest of the gods. And by him we shall get a son who will be the most powerful man upon this earth. Kunti folded her palms, bowing in agreement. Again she sat in meditation, this time calling for Vayu. Within moments, that god appeared, riding upon a huge deer. In a voice which sounded like thunderclouds, that effulgent god said with a smile, "Oh, Kunti, what do you desire from me?" Kunti was bashful as she replied, "O best of the celestials, please give me a son who will possess immense bodily strength and who will be capable of humbling the pride of anyone." Vayu agreed, and by his yogic power approached Kunti, conceiving a child within her womb. And when Vayu's child took birth, a voice was again heard from the sky. "This child will be the best of all those endowed with strength and power." Pandu and Kunti were even more joyful upon seeing their second son, whom they named Bhima. Along with Madri, and in the company of the rishis and siddhas, they lovingly raised their children in the remote and beautiful woodlands on the mountainside. Some months after Bhima's birth, Kunti was sitting near the edge of a mountain cliff, with Bhima asleep on her lap. Suddenly, a tiger roared nearby. Kunti jumped up in fear, and the baby rolled from her lap over the cliff's edge. Struck with horror, Pandu quickly descended the cliff, and when he reached the bottom, he saw the child lying unharmed amid a pile of rocky fragments. The baby had landed upon a large rock and had smashed it to pieces. In amazement, Pandu gently lifted his child and took Bhima back to Kunti. Now, even with 2 sons, Pandu continued to reflect upon the future of his dynasty. Success in this world depends upon exertion. But exertion is always subordinate to destiny. And yet, even destiny is controlled by the will of the Supreme Lord. How then can I obtain a son who will be the best of all those devoted to the Lord? So Pandu thought of Indradeva, king of all the gods, and also a famous devotee of the Lord. Indeed, Indra had formerly performed 1,000 sacrifices for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu, and Indradev possessed immeasurable might, prowess, and glory. From Indra would surely come a son who would be superior to all. Pandu consulted with the rishis and was advised that he and Kunti should practice an ascetic vow for 1 full year just to please Indradeva. At the end of that period, Kunti should summon that god with her mantra. The monarch and his wife then accepted a vow of standing on one leg from sunrise till sunset, taking neither food nor water. They kept their minds absorbed in meditation and prayer for 1 complete year with the aim to please Indra. At the end of the year, Indra spoke to Pandu in his meditation. I have become pleased with you, O king. I shall give you a son who will protect religion and chastise the wicked. He will delight his friends and relatives and slay his foes. Indeed, this boy will be the best of men. And so, following Pandu's request, Kunti again chanted her mantra. Indra appeared immediately, his bodily luster lighting up the whole region. And by the power of the 1,000-eyed Indra, Kunti conceived, and in time a dark-complexioned child was born. And for the 3rd time, a heavenly voice was heard, resounding over the mountainside. O Kunti, this child will be equal in strength to Indra, and indeed Shiva himself. He shall be called Arjuna, and he will spread your fame everywhere. He will subjugate many powerful kings and greatly increase the prosperity of your dynasty. Agni, Shiva, and Indra will all be gratified by this boy's service. And he shall have no equal in prowess, and he will become famous throughout the 3 worlds. Overhearing all of this, as well as other prophecies regarding Arjuna's future greatness, the rishis on the mountain were filled with joy. They uttered blessings while the celestial drums reverberated and showers of flowers fell from the sky. Many gods and heavenly sages then appeared before Kunti, offering the child benediction. Only the ascetic rishis could see them as they appeared in their ethereal forms, standing in chariots and on mountain peaks. The rishis were all astonished by that wonderful sight, and they stood with folded palms. Pandu was delighted. Now he had 3 matchless sons. Seeing the wonderful result of Durvasa's boon, Pandu decided to ask Kunti to use the mantra a 4th time and summon yet another powerful god. However, when Pandu approached Kunti, she refused. O learned man, even in times of emergency, it is never sanctioned by Shastra for a woman to have intercourse with more than 3 different men. Have you forgotten this ordinance? Indeed, I would become debased if I again conceived with another. The king fell silent. Indeed, Kunti was correct. So Pandu decided not to ask for any more sons, and continued to live peacefully in the forest with his 2 wives. Their 3 sons grew luxuriantly in their care. Then, one day, Madri approached Pandu privately. "My lord, I do not complain that you treat me less favorably than Kunti. Even though I am of a higher birth, still I have no complaint. But my only grief is that you have no sons by me." Madri found her position unbearable. No princess in her line had ever gone without issue. Kunti had 3 sons, and Madri had heard that Dhritarashtra's wife Gandhari had given birth to 100 sons in Hastinapur. And yet she, the lawful wife of a great hero, was still childless. So Madri asked Pandu to request Kunti to teach her the mantra. Madri explained that she was too shy to ask her directly, since Kunti was her rival. Pandu smiled. He indeed felt compassion for his younger wife. "Oh, Madri, I had already been considering this myself. I was reluctant to ask you because I was not sure how you would feel. But now that I know your mind, certainly I shall speak with Kunti. I do not think she will refuse." The monarch approached Kunti immediately. Pandu told Kunti of Madri's sorrow, asking her to be gracious to her co-wife. Pandu made it clear that he also desired more sons in order to secure more fully the good of his race, including that of himself, and indeed Kunti. Kunti acquiesced and told Madri, "O gentle lady, I shall recite the mantra for your benefit. Please think of some deity from whom you desire offspring." Madri thought carefully. Most probably, Kunti would allow her to use the mantra only once. If she summoned the inseparable twin Ashwini Kumar gods, she would get 2 sons at once. And even as she was thinking of the 2 gods, they appeared before her, aglow with celestial splendor. Bashfully, Madri asked that they unite with her in order to conceive children, and immediately they agreed. They begot with Madri 2 boys of incomparable beauty, who were thus named Nakula and Sahadev. And once again, upon their birth, the divine voice spoke. "These virtuous and accomplished sons will transcend in energy and beauty even their celestial fathers." And so the rishis performed all the rites of passage for the 5 boys, and they grew up swiftly. Why, even at the age of 1, they appeared as if they were 5 years old. Pandu was overwhelmed with happiness upon seeing his sons' extraordinary strength, beauty, energy, and wisdom. All the boys became favorites of the rishis, and they sported like 5 Gandharvas descended to earth. After some time, Pandu wondered if he might again have another son through Madri. But when he asked Kunti if she would permit Madri to use the mantra again, Kunti became angry. "My lord, I was deceived by that wicked woman. Although I gave her the mantra only once, she obtained 2 sons. Now, if I were to give her again the mantra, I fear that she may surpass me in the number of children. Oh, pray, do not ask me for this favor anymore." Pandu reconciled himself to the fact that he would have only 5 sons. But Pandu was not disappointed. His boys grew up like gods. They were all as handsome as the moon god Soma, and as powerful as Indradeva himself. They all became fearless bowmen, capable even in their early youth of facing furious mountain lions. The rishis schooled them in every facet of Vedic knowledge. The ascetics were astonished to see the boys growing so rapidly, like lotus flowers blooming in a lake. Pandu and his 2 wives offered prayers of thanks to Lord Vishnu for their great fortune, and they went on living in the Himalayan region, raising their children with affection.
Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashi Purvakshaha Shilatang Kanakalai Bharata Narasimho Yato Yato Yamitato Narasimha Bahir Narasimha Hidaye Narasimha Narasimha Madin Sharanam Prabhaji Narasimha Madin Sharanam Prabhaji Narasimha Madin Sharanam Prabhaji Namaste Narasimhaya Tavakara Kamala Hare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Nara Hadirupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare